Give it to Brock. I would fully support voting for Brock Purdy for MVP. But also, to me, the fact that two of those quarterbacks played for Kyle, to me, tells me that he's so instrumental here. And he doesn't get enough support for Coach of the Year. You know, I've been
That's
the one as critical as him as ever, but why is he not in consideration? Look what he's doing with a 23-year-old quarterback. Kyle gets credit for this.
And a mediocre offensive line. It's not like they've got a
I think Kyle should be the Coach of the Year. It shouldn't be Dan Campbell.
Well, I mean, here, you know, the Coach of the Year might be the most fault, and it's like we see it in other sports too. It's like the Manager of the Year, and who gets this award typically? It's like one of those old sayings, like if your premise is wrong, your conclusion's wrong. So if your premise is that Team A has no talent, and then Team A goes on and wins, you're like, wow, that the coach is the Coach of the Year, the manager is the Manager of the Year. But your premise might be wrong. You may just not know the talent, and you may not. You know, the guys who make like, hey, who's the most talented team? They're not pro personnel directors. They're just people kind of observing. So
it's just media. So you're like judging on who exceeded expectations the most, but you don't judge the MVP that way, right?
Right. It's not. Yeah. So like I would say if you said under the Coach of the Year that we're used to, you know, the guidelines that we're used to, I would say it'd probably be somebody like D'Amico. You know, I'd give it probably to somebody like D'Amico because Houston won 3 games last year, and they totally turned things around. Their whole culture is different, and he's had a huge impact. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Coach of the Year for Shanahan,
but they're 8-6. Freaking 8-6. We're really. Like, who cares? To me, like, the teams that matter are like it should be Mike McDaniel, John Harbaugh, or Kyle Shanahan. Those are the 3 coaches who really have teams that freaking. Shane Steichen, like, good job, dude. 8-6 first. We'll see in a few years to see if you actually built something. He's gonna win the award because he made some team not suck for 1 year. Like, come on.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna do it this way too, how about Philly? They lost Shane Steichen. They lost Gannon. They lost both their coordinators. They lost both their starting safeties. They lost, you know, tremendous talent from their team last year. They were 10-1 at one point, and they're 10-4, and they're still going to the playoffs. Maybe Howie, you know, put together a flawed team, and Sirianni is an amazing coach for finding a way to win 10 of the first 11. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know, man. They're in complete free fall. I don't see him having any answers right now. His answer was bring in Matt Patricia. That's when you know you're screwed. Matt Patricia's going to save you? No, he's not. Him in that pencil. Sorry.
My point is just that, is there anything that Shanahan could have done this year to win Coach of the Year? Probably not.
I think he did enough. He should get more support. Kyle, if you're watching, I'm backing you as Coach of the Year.
Grant says Kyle for Coach of the Year. Okay, this might be the perfect time to ask the question that I wanted to ask you about Shanahan. We've now seen Shanahan. We've now seen, there's rumors this morning, the talk this morning is that the Chargers ran out, I think, a damn good GM in Tom Telesco. Now, you can say that Staley was a circus, and he had to go. But man, that's a talented football team, and yet Telesco got dumped as well. And from what I'm hearing out of L.A., I said San Diego before because I'm so used to it, but what I'm hearing out of L.A. regarding the Chargers is that they wanted to blow out both the head coach and the GM because they're hunting for big fish. They may be going after Jim Harbaugh.
Of course they are. It's a no-brainer.
I mean, and if you're Harbaugh, you know, Harbaugh came to the Niners at the right time. If he went to the Chargers, that would be so on brand because they are ready to win right now. They just need a coaching staff. But who's the better head coach? Who's the better head coach right now? If I said Kyle Shanahan, Jim Harbaugh, who's the better head coach and why?
Right now? Or I mean, right now,
just period.
Man, that's a tough one.
Who's the better?
For a long time, I thought it was Harbaugh. And Kyle's so much younger than him. I feel like he's improved so much this year. I think Kyle's better than him. I mean, neither one has won a championship. Maybe I think Kyle has surpassed him. I think Kyle's still improving, and Jim Harbaugh has been a steady excellent for like 10, 15 years. I don't know. What do you think?
I think Jim Harbaugh is a great guy to bring in if you don't have a culture and you need to establish a culture, because I think he's going to work hard. He's going to change the vibe in the building. He's going to demand the players work hard. He's going to bring in a phenomenal coaching staff. I think great coaches want to coach with Jim Harbaugh. I think that's proven. He's gotten guys here. He's gotten guys at Michigan. He's well connected in the coaching circles, and guys want to coach under Jim Harbaugh. So that's one.
Same with Kyle.
Kyle is too. But I mean, I think that's.
I don't think Kyle could recruit. I don't think he would have the patience. I don't think he could do college football the way Harbaugh has.
No,
Harbaugh's been good in both.
He wouldn't have the enthusiasm. Kyle's not going into some high school kid's house and watching movies with him.
No,
he has no time for that.
Harbaugh will.
Yeah.
Harbaugh will.
I would say
whose offense is better? Like, it's not even.
Kyle's.
Not even close. Not even close. Yeah, not even close.
Okay, let me ask you this: when the Niners lost to the Ravens, who do you blame the most for losing that game? Because I blame Jim Harbaugh. They had 1st and goal on the 5-yard line, or 1st and goal on the 7. He stupidly called a timeout when he had an old Ravens defense. It had old Ed Reed, old Ray Lewis, old Bernard Pollard. I was there in the Superdome on the binoculars. Those guys were huffing and puffing. They were holding their hips. They were sitting there. They were giving every nonverbal indication that they were freaking gassed at the end of a long drive against a faster, more athletic team, and he called a timeout and let them catch their breath. That was one.
So they could talk about it and call 3 straight
fades.
Back end zone fades.
From a quarterback who doesn't throw the fade. I mean, it's like, come on. And when you had a quarterback that could run like that and you had a Hall of Fame running back, should have just ran Kaepernick on a quarterback option and said, get in no matter what. And if you don't do it, no huddle and get in on 2nd down. Instead, they go fades. I blame Harbaugh for that. I also think that he had a hard time getting plays called on time. He had a really screwed up situation on the headsets where he had certain guys calling run plays, certain guys calling pass plays. He was on there. I feel like he lost his cool on the sidelines in many of their biggest games. I would say Shanahan is better just because of that. I blame Harbaugh for the Super Bowl loss. How did you view that?
Well, one thing that Kyle has going for him that Jim didn't, Kyle gets to work with John Lynch. So I feel like the front office coaching staff synergy is great, as opposed to Jim Harbaugh trying to work with Trent Baalke. We know those guys were at odds a lot. They had totally different visions of who they wanted. And sometimes Trent Baalke would draft people that Jim wasn't signed off on. So I think that was kind of tough for Kyle. For Jim, he was sort of coaching in spite of his GM. Kyle doesn't have to do that.
What have I said? What have I pushed back and said that Jim caused that friction by going to management and demanding Michael Lombardi instead of Trent Baalke after he had agreed that he would take Baalke as his general manager and less than 24 hours
Kyle
later,
did the same thing, right? Kyle hired his general manager. Jim just wanted that
general manager.
Yeah, Kyle just had more leverage because Jed messed it up with Harbaugh and Tom Sula and Chip Kelly. Sure. And Kyle's like, all right, well, if you want me, I'm naming my terms. Harbaugh was trying to do that too, just like he was trying to re-engineer the terms mid-job. They didn't appreciate it.
Right. I think Harbaugh probably sold out on the GM choice for his cash. Got his cash, which was $5 million per, and then said, you know what? I'll just take whatever GM. And then 24 hours later said, you know what? No, actually, I want my own GM. And the negotiations were done.
And I want more money.
And I don't want Trent Baalke. And that's why things were always frosty between those guys.
I bet Harbaugh thinks if he had the kind of blank check that Kyle has, he would have been champion. But who knows? He still hasn't won it in college.
I know.